Okay, fine. Today in this session, we will learn about the TypeScript. Are you able to see my screen, right? Hello, are you able to hear me? Okay, fine. So the screen, are you able to see me? Are you able to see? Fine. So now today in this session, what we'll try to learn is, so before continuing to this Angular and all those, first we need to learn one important thing, that is nothing but TypeScript. What is a TypeScript and why we need to use this TypeScript? Okay. So if you try to learn Angular, first what you will try to see is the Angular uses the TypeScript language. So what is this TypeScript language? Now let's try to see it. I will show you. You type TypeScript. Okay. So here you will be able to see TypeScript. Okay. Don't think that TypeScript is a language. So TypeScript is just a JavaScript only. I will tell you where this TypeScript is exactly useful. So TypeScript, as you try to see here, the definition of this one, TypeScript is a strongly typed language. Okay. Up to now, the JavaScript, what we have learned, it is a dynamically typed language. That means it's a loosely typed language, or otherwise we can say it. But whereas this TypeScript is a strongly typed language. Okay. So TypeScript is not a language, so it is a superset of the JavaScript language. So it is a superset. That means whatever the code you write in the TypeScript, ultimately it will be converted into the JavaScript. That is the main thing you need to understand it. Don't think that TypeScript is a separate language. It will give you some superpowers to the JavaScript, so that we, using the TypeScript, we can implement some advanced features and all those things. Ultimately, the TypeScript will be converted into the JavaScript. That is the thing what I can say. Now, before continuing to this Angular, so right now the Angular 14 is the new version right now going on. Before continuing to this Angular, if I try to show, so this is Angular. Okay. Now the latest version right now it is running is the 14th version. If we try to open this GitHub, so you can be able to see all the time the newer version. So here you will be able to see the tags, and here you will be able to see the releases. So here this is the release. So next -4, these all the things, leave it aside. So 14.0.4 is the latest one. Okay, every time for any software, if you want to check the latest release means, so we can check it here like this, 14.0.5. so if you don't find in their original documentation, so you can find it here. This is the latest release. So they are going to release the next version is 14.1.0. so that is the next release they are trying to release. So but the latest release is the 14. So we can assume it that Angular's latest version is the 14. So before learning this Angular uses the TypeScript language. That is the main thing you need to understand. So Angular uses the TypeScript language, not the JavaScript language. So TypeScript is nothing but the superset of the JavaScript. So if you know the JavaScript well, learning the TypeScript is also very easy, but you need to learn some extra concepts, that which we will cover in these 2 days, or 2 days we will try to cover, and then we can start this. So directly if I start Angular and I directly write the TypeScript code, so you will find it very uncomfortable, that whatever the things that we have learned now previously in the sessions, our thing, the JavaScript, ES6, these are all the things we have learned, and also the jQuery also we have learned. And now suddenly if I change the language, the code what I am writing entirely different way means, then you will get confused. So Angular uses the TypeScript. So now now you understood what is the TypeScript. So now here you will be able to understand here the definition itself. If you try to read, you'll be able to understand. Right now the latest version is 4.7. TypeScript adds additional syntax to the JavaScript. So now you understood, right? So TypeScript uses the JavaScript only, but it will add some additional syntax. That means some additional features it will add to support a tighter integration with your code editor. I will try to show you the tighter integration with your editor, how TypeScript benefits us when we are writing the code. So TypeScript is not a language, it is a superset of the JavaScript language. It adds some additional features to the JavaScript which JavaScript doesn't has. One main thing is the strongly typed programming. TypeScript is a strongly typed programming language. What is this strongly typed programming language and dynamically typed programming language? We will see it in a couple of minutes afterwards. This is the main concept in the TypeScript. The TypeScript code, so whatever the TypeScript code you will be writing, it will be converted to the JavaScript. Okay, ultimately the TypeScript code, so we will not execute it directly. Ultimately it should be converted to JavaScript itself. Whatever the code you are writing in the TypeScript, ultimately it should be converted into the JavaScript only. And this JavaScript can be run anywhere. So we can in browser, in Node.js, or anything wherever you want to write, wherever you want to use this JavaScript, so it can run anywhere. TypeScript understands the JavaScript. Okay. So if you want to write the JavaScript code in the TypeScript, no problem, you can write it. It's not any problem. So if you know the JavaScript syntax, where, let, constant, spread operators, rest operators, functions, objects, these all the things work in the TypeScript also. So whatever the concepts you have learned up to now, everything works in the TypeScript. Apart from that, additionally, so TypeScript offers you some additional syntax and features which you can use exclusively in the TypeScript only. So you cannot, those things will not work in the JavaScript. Those things work exclusively in the TypeScript. So what are those features? We'll try to see one by one. So this is a type inference. I will tell you what is this type inference without additional coding. We'll try to tell you. So this is all about the TypeScript introduction. Now I will tell you that where TypeScript exactly properly is useful. I will try to show you. Now here, this is our folder. So just I have created a sample folder here. So in this D drive, I have created a TypeScript folder. Now in this TypeScript folder, we don't have any files or anything. Just what I will try to do is I have opened in a Visual Studio Code. Now I will create a new file. Okay, now I am creating a new file. Let's say that I am using index.html. So this is our index.html file. Normally, whatever the things we have learned, so just I will try to show you. So HTML5. So this is the bootstrap I am using. So not bootstrap. So this is the template. Now here, let's say that I am having a main.js. Normally, we will create a JS file. And here you can include the script file. So text/javascript. Okay, source is equal to main.js. So I can use this main.js like this directly. So this one I can write that hello world or anything. So just I want to mention you without blank screen. Now this is our main.js code. So now if I try to run this one in a live server, so just I want to see the output. So this is our output. Hello world I am able to see in the console. We are able to see it. Okay. Now let's try to write the code in the main.js file. Okay. Let's assume that I have a function, add function. So it will take two parameters, a comma b, and it will return a plus b. Okay. So this is a simple function which adds two numbers and returns the sum of the two numbers. Now let's say that I am having a constant result is equal to, I will call this add of 2 comma 3, 1 comma 3 or anything. So now I will console the result. So now here, so nothing, no error is there here. So now everything, the code what I have written here is, everything is fine. We have created a function with add, with name add, and it does the addition, and we are getting a result add of 1 comma 3. So that means it will do 1 plus 3. So the 4 will be written back, and here that 4 value will be stored in the result variable. So now here we are printing the result. That's it. So it's a very simple. Now if I try to see the output in the console, I am able to see the output as 4. So without any problem, without any errors, it is showing. Now what I will try to do is, instead of, now what you understood here, typically with the common sense, if you try to observe this one, so this addition value will take two numbers. Okay, so we'll take two numbers and it will add the two numbers and it will return you the sum of these two numbers. So that is the concept of this function. Now that means this function accepts two numbers. Okay, so two numbers only it will accept. It will not accept any string, array, something like that. We should not send anything like this. So why? Because so sensible, with common sense, if we see this, This function takes only two numbers and it will return a number. Now if I try to send here any string, something like, so I am sending is a string. Okay, so if I keep the single quotes here, so now 1 has become string and 3 has become string. Or otherwise say, let's say that Leela, and I am sending something. Or otherwise let's say that hello, and I am sending. Now the JavaScript, what it will try to see, so here we are sending the strings value, but here the function, this functionality of this add function is, it takes two numbers as a parameters and it will add the two numbers and it will return the sum. Okay, or otherwise let's say that we are having add numbers. I'm having a method such a way that the name itself implies that it takes two numbers a and b, so that means two numbers 1 and 2 or something like that, and it will return the sum. But here instead of passing the numbers, I am passing the string, so that means semantically it is wrong. Okay, if you try to observe, semantically it is. Why? Because this function takes only two numbers, but we are trying to send the string values. Now if I try to observe the code, so now if you try to see, it has to throw an error that why you are sending string values. So this function is exclusively meant for writing adding the numbers. You are sending the string value. Now if you try to see the output, we are able to see the output without any error. Okay, the JavaScript accepts that function to send the string as an arguments also, and here this a and b are taking the strings as a parameters. Okay, so but why is this happening like this? Because you need to understand that JavaScript is a dynamic language. Okay, dynamic programming language. Okay, dynamic programming language means we have already seen that. So if you have a variable where a is equal to 10, okay, by going down I can assign a is equal to something. Leela also I can assign it. So that means I am changing the type. Type means here the data type. I am changing the type of this a variable from number to string. So that means it is a dynamic programming language. That means any variable if you are having in the JavaScript, we cannot assume the type of that variable. Okay, so whether it could be a name, so whether it could be a string or number, we cannot determine that one. Why? Because we don't know. So while going on, JavaScript can change the type of that variable and it completely accepts that one. So JavaScript, it's completely normal. So it does not throw any error in the JavaScript. So that means because of that reason, so JavaScript is a dynamic programming language. Whereas TypeScript, if you try to observe, TypeScript is the entirely opposite one. So TypeScript is a static programming language, a static type language, or otherwise you can say, or strongly type programming language. Okay, strongly type programming language. So this is the TypeScript, whereas TypeScript is a strongly type programming language. Now when I try to write this one in a TypeScript, it will not allow the strings to be passed to this function. Why? Because this function exclusively, one second. Yeah. Where we are. So here this function exclusively takes the numbers as a, second I will come. Yeah, hello. Yes, sorry guys. So now we have seen about this JavaScript add numbers, right? This is our TypeScript. Now we are where we are learning. So about the TypeScript, right? TypeScript is a static type language, and it is a strongly typed programming language. That is the thing you need to understand. Now the same code, if we want to write in the TypeScript, how we can write it, I will try to show you. So the TypeScript code, always it will extend using main.ts. Okay? So here you will be able to see the TypeScript icon. The JavaScript file has an extension of .js, and the TypeScript file has an extension of .ts. So now, if you try to observe main.ts file, the same code, I will try to write it in the TypeScript. So here I can write something like function add a comma b. Okay, so return a plus b. Return a plus b. So this is the code I am writing, and here I will write constant result is equal to add of 1 comma 2, and I can do console.log of result. So this is the code I am writing. So here we are getting an error. Why? Because in this main.js, so we have already declared a variable. So because of that reason, it is telling. So let's try to see it. So this is the code which I have written in the TypeScript. Okay. So the same code, what is that I have written in the JavaScript, I have written it here. Everything works normal. Okay, without any problem. Now here, when I try to take something like 1 and 2, so this one also works normal only. So this is normally the plain JavaScript. Now the features of the TypeScript comes here. Now how we can get it? For example, let's say that we know that this add numbers. Let's say that this add numbers. Okay, these add numbers will take the parameters of only the numbers. So that means we know that a should be a number and b should be a number, so that a and b combinedly will return the sum of the number. Add numbers 1 comma 2. So now if I try to show you how I can tell is, so here I can mention something like a should be a number, okay, and also b should be a number. So we are defining the type of this a. So what is the data type of this value? So a should be a number. So we know that in the JavaScript we have the data types, something like strings. We'll try to show you. We'll try to see it. Strings, numbers, and booleans. These are all the things we have it, right? In the same scenario, a should be a number and b should be a number. Now the return value of this one should be a number. Okay. So if you want the return value of this one should be a number, we can write it like this. So now if you try to observe here, the result, if I hover it here, if I hover it, the variable result, it is showing that it is of type number. So that means it will hold the value of number. Now here we are able to get an error that this add numbers function will take parameters only the numbers only, not the string values. So that means I can mention 1 comma 2. Now without any problem it will take it. Let's try to confuse. So this is how we can strictly make the function to accept the numbers only. So by this one we can say that this is a strongly typed language. So that means we should mention the data type only the number for this add numbers. Whereas in the JavaScript, if you try to observe, we can send whatever we want and it will give you the output without any problem. But here if I try to send anything, and here you will be able to see some red line, and if I hover here, it is throwing an error that argument of string. So that means you are passing an argument of type string. It is not assignable to the parameter of type number. So I cannot assign it to this parameter of type number. So this variable accepts only the number, but you are sending the string. So this is not acceptable, it is saying. So this is the result of add number. So like this we will be doing. This is all. This is how the TypeScript works actually. So now let's say that normally where we can see these all things is in Java or C# language or C language, C++. So we will be able to see these all as a strongly typed language. Okay, strongly typed language. Why? Because for example, in Java or anything, in C# or anything, if you want to mention a variable, if you want to create a variable, So you will create int a is equal to 10. So that means before initialization, before creation only, you are telling that this a accepts only variable of type int. Okay, so you are telling, so a will take a variable, a is a variable and it has a data type of 10. So now in C# or anything, so if you try to assign anything other than integer, it will not accept. So this is a strongly typed language. So the same scenario I am trying to use it here also. Now in function, if you want to mention a function in a Java or C# anything, so you will mention the public function, okay, and you will write add numbers, and here in this one you will write int a comma int b. So like this you will write, and if you want you can also mention the return type, something like it will return again int. So like this you will mention. So now what is the thing you are trying to say? So this is a function, so same function we have created, and this function is add numbers, and here we are having two variables, that is nothing but integer a and integer b in the same scenario. So as this one is a JavaScript, we don't have int and float and all those things, so we are mention number, but in the TypeScript we will mention in such a way that function add numbers, okay, add numbers a comma b. Instead of mentioning here, so we need to make a colon and we need to mention it as number. So here also we need to make colon and we need to mention as number. So like this we need to do it. Okay, so this is how we will be doing this add numbers thing. So now this is the basic TypeScript concept. So now let's try to write this code. So function, now how we can execute this code. So now if I try to use function, we have used, right, add numbers. I will function add numbers a colon number and b colon number, we have used it, and here return a plus b, okay, and here we are having constant result is equal to a plus b, sorry, add numbers of 1 comma 2, and I am doing console.log result. Now what I will try to do is I will try to execute this code. So now let's close this main.js. Instead of this one I will try to use main.ts file here. Now if I try to execute this code, so here we are able to see that okay, this is a problem we are getting. And for example, if I try to take these all the things and if I try to place it here in the main.js, and if I try to use this main.js here only, okay, so what is the thing? So whatever the code we are writing it in the main.js, the TypeScript code, and we'll try to see it. So now here we are able to see that colon is not defined. Why? Because in the JavaScript file, these colons and all those things are not acceptable. So the JavaScript doesn't know about this structure. So this type of creation of this function we haven't done. So in the TypeScript only we are doing. So now in the TypeScript, while we are doing, so what we can do is now we need to convert this TypeScript to a JavaScript. How we can convert is, so here if you try to see the TypeScript, so try TypeScript now online on your computer. If you go here, first we need to download the TypeScript. Okay, so TypeScript can be downloaded in many ways. One popular method is through the npm. Okay, let's try to install the TypeScript through the npm. Now here what I can do here, let's open this one, and here I am opening the TypeScript, and here first we need to initialize the project. Okay, npm init, or otherwise I will try to in file explorer. I'll try to open the command prompt, and here in this command prompt what I can do is, so first we need to initialize the project, or otherwise what I can say is I will try to show you why we need to initialize the project. So here they have given the command to install the TypeScript. So let's try to copy this command and let's try to use this command. So I will try directly use this command. So when I am trying to install this, so it has automatically installed it. So now here if you try to see, so automatically it has initialized and everything it has initialized. So now here the package.json file has been created. So before doing this one, what we can do is, so we can do the npm init. So that means we can create the npm package. Already the package is there. Here we can say that package name and all those things it asks you. The package will be created, and here this one will be added as a dependency in the TypeScript. As a TypeScript will be added as a dependency for this project. Now this project needs the TypeScript. Now what I can do here is, so after installing the TypeScript, so here you'll be able to see that npx tsc. Okay, so this is the command for executing the TypeScript. Here what I can do is npx tsc. Tsc means TypeScript compiler. If I press enter, let's try to see what could be the output. So we are getting an so much of bunch of some concepts. Okay, so this is because it requires a configuration file. So it requires a tsconfig.json. It requires a configuration file. I will try to show you that one. So let's keep it aside. So what I can do is npx tsc. I want to compile main.ts file. That's it. We can write it like this. Now main.ts file will be compiled automatically. Main.ts file will be compiled and it will be created with a main.js file. Here if I want, I can remove this, delete this code. So I have deleted this main.js file. Now let's try to compile this again. So now here I can use this npx tsc main.ts file. So I can use this npx tsc main.ts file. Now automatically main.ts file is created, and whatever the file name we are having main.ts file, with the same name you will be able to get the main.js file. This is the compiled code. Now if you try to see here, we are able to see that constant result. So the ts file is having constant result, right? So it is converted into var. So that means the vanilla JavaScript, not the ES6 JavaScript. So that the code which the TypeScript has compiled to JavaScript, everything will be supported in the older browsers also. That is the main thing you need to understand. For example, if I try to write such a way that console.log, here I can say anything. For example, let's say that constant subtract is equal to, so I can create a function something like this, and here if I try to create a comma b, a of type number and b of type number, so it is of type numbers, and if you try to do return a plus b. So this is the latest syntax, right? Now if I try to compile this one, let it compile. I don't know. Yeah, it's compiled. So now if I try to see here, see the code was compiled in such a way that var subtract is equal to function of a comma b return a comma b. So this one is compiled to the older version of the JavaScript code. So we can mention the versions of the JavaScript code also, to which version we need to compile it, whether we want to compile it to the ES6 or ES5, so we can mention it, but this is out of scope. So first we need to learn the basics, then slowly we will incrementally we will understand. So this is how we can convert the TypeScript language to the, what I can say, to the JavaScript language. So this is how it will be converting. So this all in Angular will be done by itself only. So Angular does everything by itself. There is no need to configure and all those things. But what we need to do is, before learning the Angular, we need to understand the concepts that are involved in the TypeScript. I want to explain you the concepts. Now in this session, what you need to understand is the TypeScript is a strongly typed language. So that is the one concept you need to understand. It defines the static typing to all the variables. So now TypeScript is not a language, it is a superset of the JavaScript language. So whatever the JavaScript code you want to write, you can write it in the TypeScript code, but you cannot write the TypeScript code in the JavaScript language. So TypeScript code can be written only in the TypeScript file only, but you can also write the JavaScript code in the TypeScript file. Whereas in the JavaScript code, you cannot write the TypeScript, something like a colon number, these are all the things you cannot write it in the JavaScript. So now ultimately the TypeScript, the code, the browser cannot understand the TypeScript code, but what we need to do is we need to compile using the TypeScript compiler. We also have the Babel compiler, so many compilers are there, but I don't want to tell you more. Now we can use this TypeScript compiler, we can install the TypeScript in our project, and we can use the command npx tsc and the file name which you want to compile it, and you can use that one and you can compile it to the JavaScript file. This is the about the basics of the TypeScript. So now this is all about the basics of the TypeScript. In the next session, what we'll try to do is we will try to learn what are the different data types. What are the different data types that are available in the TypeScript? I will try to explain you one by one. So tomorrow I will try to explain you. We'll be having the data types, different types of data types, how we can do all the things. I will try to show you. By the time, what you can do is you can practice this TypeScript thing, how to create a TypeScript file and how to compile the TypeScript file and how we can use it. Just practice this one. Afterwards, now tomorrow we will see what are the different data types and what are the concepts that are involved and what are the concepts that Angular uses the TypeScript and all those things I will try to explain you briefly so that we'll learn more advanced in these things in the Angular. Tomorrow we'll see about this, all the data types.